Welcome to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison.
I'm Molly, a former skeptic, now full-time energy healer, author, and your resident science meets spirit nerd.
And I'm Madison, a born and raised witch, teacher of the craft, and owner of not one, not two, but 3 metaphysical businesses.
Together we dig into low-effort witchcraft, spirituality, and the science that backs it all up, all with humor, heart, and a sprinkle of chaos.
So whether you're a curious skeptic or a seasoned witch, find a cozy spot, take a deep breath, and let's demystify some magic.
Howdy doody, friends.
Howdy doody.
We have a special guest here, and I think you're going to like this guest because we've talked about this subject before, but we've always wanted to bring in an expert and really answer all of the burning questions that y'all have about this topic. So we have Brit Koch here. Brit is an Indigenous woman teaching rest, ritual, and resistance, and we are going to talk all about decolonizing, self-care, and spirituality. So Brit, welcome to the pod.
Hey, I'm happy to be here.
Welcome.
I don't know if you've listened to our podcast before, but we have kind of a ritual that we start off with. We always share our magic moments of the week. So this could be a moment of gratitude, a moment that just made you believe in magic of the universe, or maybe an example of your spiritual practice kind of like coming to fruition. Do you have a magic moment you want to share?
Well, I think so. It's Monday morning and we just had the weekend, and my magic moment would have been just like literally not leaving the house one single time all week, which I feel like rarely gets to happen. And we just like watched a boatload of Christmas movies with our 8-year-old daughter and made crafts all weekend. So it was actually very magical.
I love that. Yeah, there's nothing better than just like staying at home, especially this time of year.
Yes. It's, oh my gosh, it's bitter cold out too right now. So I was more than happy to just be cozy.
Yeah. Where in the world are you?
We are in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Cool.
Very cold.
Oklahoma.
That would be my magic moment too. Could not. It's 50 degrees here right now. And I'm like, I can't go outside. What do you mean? We're gathering outdoors?
Yeah.
No, I won't be going.
17 when I woke up this morning. So not into that.
Simultaneously so jealous and so relieved that that's not me. You know, it's like I love the idea of a cold Christmas time in theory. In practice, I don't know how good I'd be at it.
Yeah, the cold Christmas time is great from the inside. Like yesterday it was snowing here and I was like, this is so lovely while I'm indoors. But when I take the dogs out, I'm like, I hate it here. Okay. So Brit, for folks who might be new to your work, what do you mean when you say decolonizing self-care? Can you give us like a definition of what you do?
So decolonizing self-care is all about not essentially putting our self-care into consumeristic goods and like just spa treatments or, you know, the new face mask you see an influencer talking about, or vitamins, or all the fun things they love to sell on wellness and health channels, which I am a sucker for that as well. Like I do like a practical self-care item, but there is ways to care for yourself in a deep, grounded, I would say like peaceful way that you can like attain on your own, using nature, connecting with your body and connecting with your mind in ways that Native people have forever. And I know people have a hard time sort of maybe wrapping your mind around like decolonizing self-care, but all it really is like deconstructing it from consumeristic mindset and just trusting in yourself and your intuition to like look inward.
I love that. Yeah, we teach that all the time.
Yeah, I think that is such an important lesson to learn because I think it can apply so broadly to other things, you know, like every sect of the internet has something that it's trying to sell you. And that's something that we talk about a lot, is especially within spirituality, is that there's always something that someone often will want you to buy with the promise that it will bring you a new element of magic. And that's something that's so important to us, is this idea that like all of the magic that you possess is currently inside of you right now. Tools are tools and they're great, but what exists, like the magic is already a part of you. The tool just exists to accentuate it or to give it an avenue, you know? And I think it's so important to kind of add that mentality to all aspects of life. And self-care is such an important part of that.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's also, I think we find it, I mean, we're all scrolling. And so it's like so easy to see the next new thing and be like, oh, this will be the easy way to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm. Throw money at it.
Yeah. Like we're all kind of in, a mind space of like looking for problem solvers, looking for like easy access to things because we think we won't make the time to do it ourselves. But I really think taking the time to learn from, cultures, whether it be native cultures or even looking to like your ancestors from who came from wherever, like that is something I address also in my ebook, is that like some things are appropriation, cultural appropriation, and some things aren't. Like some you can appreciate and participate in, but you can also take a step back and look into your lineage and like, what did those people do? What was someone in Sweden doing? And like, what herbs were they like saging with, like burning and cleansing with, like looking through your heritage to find and connect with something. Cause I think that really resonates with people more than like the easy fixes that we're actually seeing. And then we buy and then we like sit in our closet and we don't do anything with.
Yeah, for sure. And could you expand a little bit on the difference between learning from a culture or appreciating a culture and lifting from it or appropriating it?
Yeah. So a huge thing in like new agey magic type of self-carry stuff that's been out in the last, I don't know, I guess maybe I've noticed at least 5 years, is just like literally anywhere sells white sage. And it's really not appropriate for most people to be using it because it's been harvested really in poor ways, not sustainable ways. And it's not to say that people can't use sage. Like there's even just like regular sage. You can use sage all you want, but white sage is very specific to Native American tribes. And the access it's been given to, well, not the access it's been given, but I've just seen it all over the place. We travel a lot in the Southwest. It'll be like at gas stations. It'll be like just like anywhere, crystal shops, which I love. But it's just that's one thing specifically that should be just for the cultures that use that, because you want to also appreciate the earth. And that's a part of decolonizing self-care, is like also being attuned to nature, being attuned to honoring that and the people who are using those specific things in those specific places. So that's something you could take from a culture and say, like, I hear what you're saying. I understand why that specific thing is sacred. Like, what could I do instead? And there's things like cedar and sweetgrass and things that are abundant even in like your region. And you can look into what those things are, or like I said, what your heritage used specifically before. Because I think a lot of us, especially in America, are disconnected from heritage because it's like we kind of created our own mismatched stuff. And I think from people that I've heard of, like looking into how to like decolonize self-care and like what they want to come at it from like I don't know if historical is the right way to say it, but like looking into what their people did. And like, it feels a deep connection versus something that like is not from your culture. And you're kind of trying to make it work for yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Sorry, that was like very long-winded.
Oh, no, that's okay. We love to yap, so you are in good company.
Yeah. I think one of the things that often comes up, because we talk all the time about white sage and about how like Indigenous people were literally killed and harmed for using these practices. And then we as white people decided they were trendy and now it's okay. And we like erase that history when we, appropriate those types of practices. And I know for me, whenever I talk about this online, I always get comments from people who are like, cultural appropriation is gatekeeping. You can't claim a plant from any one culture. How do you respond to things like that? Like, how do you educate someone who maybe doesn't understand or does see like this type of, you can't use this as gatekeeping?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing because you'll have like two types of people saying things like that. It'll be people who are just like usually white males and trying to be hateful and saying you can't control me. And those I just
Yeah,
block and remove.
totally.
Like I just don't really want to have any involvement in that. And then you have the more like new agey hippie type of vibes that like I do think honestly mean well, but they also have maybe even in general not been told no about certain things, like
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
correct ways to do things or traditional things because of the disconnect from, you know, heritage in America. Because I mean, a lot of that was squelched out of so many different cultures because of racism, even when they got here, all from Europe. You know, it's like there was all these sections of, you know, different countries and they all judged each other harshly and tried to just like assimilate too. So it's kind of interesting. And I think a lot of, at least American mindset is like I'm welcome to anything, which is like
Mm.
in some ways true. Because we do have a very unique culture and we are like sort of at least generation wise a young country. And so I think a lot of like historical and cultural teachings and practices have been lost in that in order to like kind of fit in. So the people who are open to listening to like first of all, in general, if they're not shut off by me saying decolonized, because that is like a touchy thing because people then feel like a shame and like well, that wasn't me type of thing. And that's
Totally.
like definitely I'm not trying to like enforce shame or like almost like where people want to just shut down and they don't want to learn more about it because it is uncomfortable. But like I guess I'm just trying to explain things in a way that's open and friendly, but also clear. And so, especially in the Reclaimed and Radical book I go through like specific things that are appropriation and that are appreciation and like things that are appropriation, like what could we do differently to make it accessible to you that isn't inappropriate or disrespectful? Because when you look at Native Americans in general, like I'm at a loss for words on the date, but I want to say it was in the late 70s, maybe 78 or something like that, that religious practice was granted to Native tribes. Like that is
Wow.
not
Recent.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like think of all the generations, like my grandparents' generation, they were in boarding schools and lost their languages and not taught certain things because it was not welcome to be practiced. So it's like at this, it's such a like a new reclaiming of like, no, this is our heritage. This is our traditions. And we want to protect that because we weren't even allowed to practice it in our own country.
Yeah, it's fascinating to me that like, as you said, I didn't know that, by the way, that it was that recent. That's bonkers to me. Like, you know, most people listening to our podcast, like that is either their, like within their lifetime or their parents' lifetime.
Right.
For sure. And it's so interesting to me that like our response to saying like, hey, please don't use this herb that like is being over harvested and like is, you know, has this history behind it and is appropriating our culture is called gatekeeping, when like literally it was illegal to practice and like learn language and like experience the culture that the person literally came from. Like, was that not gatekeeping?
Yeah, the ultimate form of gatekeeping.
The thing is like they were like, oh, by the way, you can't like be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's bonkers.
It's called the American Indian Religious Freedom Act, and it was brought into legal protection in 1978.
Wow.
Just so wild.
And I think, like you said, like people don't know that because, first of all, I think in general, people are not taught about Native Americans past like the 1900s in school. Like if you're talking 100%. Like, you know, K-12 schools. And so it almost makes it like we are sort of mythical fiction. Like I have weird questions sometimes like, oh, do you guys live in teepees or are you on horseback? Like people like said those things like when I went to college and I was like, this is like what? Like, we're just like everyday people as well, but we have a deep tie to our culture because we are where our culture started.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people don't relate to that.
Yeah. What other like recent history things do you think we should know about? Because, like you said, yeah, I feel like literally, at least in my school in Maine, we like Pocahontas was like
Yeah.
all we learned.
Mm-hmm.
Or like
And
Sacagawea, like the two.
yeah. Yeah. But is there other aspects of history that you think would be important for us to understand as like, spiritual people, magical practitioners that you think would be helpful for us to understand when it comes to kind of like decolonizing practices and just recognizing what Native people have been through recently?
In the 1960s and 70s, all the way through 1976, there was a huge practice of sterilizing women in Native cultures so that essentially the population would die out. Like, basically, the US government did everything they could do to dwindle numbers and strip culture away so that we would not exist.
Oh my God.
And I mean, this was actually happening without permissions. Young girls would go in to get treated for things and they would be sterilized through IHS hospitals that were funded by the government.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So when they say natives are resilient, it is like downplaying it, I feel
Yeah.
Yeah.
because
An
like what other
understatement.
choice was there?
Yeah.
Totally. That is
Wow.
like equal parts horrifying. And then the other part of the horror is that it's like not surprising.
Yeah.
Like it's disgusting, but I'm also not surprised in the worst way.
Right.
Mm.
And the fact that that's not something that we talk about or teach our children
Mhm.
is so, or teach our white children, I'll say,
Yeah.
is so like, I don't have a better word for it other than just like gross and horrible.
Yeah. Fucked up.
Fucked up.
Yeah. It's a lot when you really think about it. And it's like, in the last few years, I don't know if you guys have watched like Res Dogs or Dark Winds, but those are, pretty recent television shows made by natives. And like the discourse I was seeing online from those is like, that's like when people were like actually learning what boarding schools were, how native children were literally kidnapped from their families and cultures and taken away. And like how all these boarding schools also had graveyards, which, spoiler, should not be a thing at schools.
Yeah.
And like that's also like they touch on the sterilization in Dark Winds as well. And it's just like people are just learning of that. But I was taught to like be wary of the government my whole life because it's like there's a lot of darkness when it comes to our culture and like making it survive, which is another huge reason why I have dove into like offering decolonizing self-care to others, because I think people are interested, people want to learn, and I think people want to do better. And so like coming at it from the way that I do, I talk about it as like I am a mother, I am a small business owner, I also do social media and write. And so like I am a busy person, I have ADHD, I love to be busy, I love to have like a thing I'm doing. And so like I know that there are so many other people who are like that. And we tend to kind of run to like burnout in one area and then shift to another. And so like decolonizing self-care really helps you to like ground in yourself and move through life like in like a peaceful mindset when you can, which is like that's not always going to be the case because we do have this administration that we do.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to take in every day. But if you can come back to yourself and do it in a way that is reliable and, inspired by Indigenous traditions and open practices, like I think it is so helpful to people to realize that they're capable of doing it themselves and at home, and like taking a minute to like recharge and rethink, or like be able to like have a different perspective after they've taken time to ground or do specific things.
Yeah, totally. It's interesting to hear you talk about like the different kinds of people who say, you know, this cultural appropriation is just gatekeeping, because I've had a very similar experience. So I own 2 metaphysical stores and we don't sell white sage. And so it's about like once a week that somebody comes in and has that question of like, where's the sage? And I'm like, oh, it's right here. Here's the blue sage and here's some mugwort and, you know, whatever. And they're looking for something specific. And so we kind of get to have that conversation. And that's what I found too, is that a lot of the time it is people who mean well, who are just not like engaging with people who are different from them, you know, like they're surrounded by people who are very similar to them, you know, they're not talking to Native people. And so they don't, I might be the first person telling them that it's that white sage was over harvested. And so I run into a lot of people who realize right in front of me that they're unknowingly participating in harmful practices.
Yeah.
What would you say are like the first steps to kind of like repair that? I don't want to say like, to me, it almost feels like a relationship with spirit and a relationship with the earth. Like what is a moving forward point from participating in those practices to kind of moving forward?
I really do think there's a lot of people who like actually don't know any Native people and, you know, don't maybe see Native people on social media. And I think that's another thing that drove me to like start making content creation, because really before TikTok, I had never seen Native people like, you know, on Instagram. And I think Instagram was so different, you know, pre TikTok, of course, because you're seeing people that you actually just know in real life. But, you know, it encouraged me to like start putting out these thoughts and like calling out certain things. Like another thing that I call out that I always get flack from is don't use the word tribe like casually, especially when we were like even not allowed to be tribes 30 years ago. Like it's been so policed and governed, and like, you know, the only other creatures on earth that have to like prove their blood quantum are literally livestock. So it's pretty gross.
Yeah.
But I think like, as far as like a moving forward thing, like, yeah, you want to pause, you want to like give education on it. And I think for me, what I often lead people to is like, okay, what's your heritage? Like, let's step back and like trace backwards. Like, because most cultures burn some sort of thing. So it's like we can find something in nature that you can burn if that's what makes you feel good. Because like it does make you feel good. It does feel nice, and it feels like you're like physically doing something. And I think we all need a little bit of that sometimes, like a little proof.
Yeah.
So I think like for me, like I'm going to be welcoming if you're not going to come at it in a way that's like discrediting my experience and my people's experience. Because if you're going to do that, then I can already tell like you're not really open to like do better. But like I'm more than willing to sit with people and have conversations and open conversations to things like that, because it is touchy, because we also don't want to feel like excluded from something like as humans too. So that's like a normal, I think, response when someone says like, oh no, that's not for you. So I try not to approach it that way specifically, but like, hey, let's look at alternatives, or like, let's kind of like figure it out. And, you know, because let's face it, like not everything is for everyone. And that's just kind of a fact of life as well.
Yeah,
totally. Yeah. What should they do with the white sage? That's a question that I get all the time. And I'm like, I don't feel like I'm the right person to answer that.
I don't think I should be telling you what to do here.
I'm like, people ask me questions. And I'm like, I am not the authority on this. I also am not like, I'm not in the group that should be using it either. Like, please don't ask me as an expert. Like, and one of the things that I have been really actively trying to do, because you're right, like 99% of like the spirituality creators I see look like me. And so I've been really trying over the last couple of years to actively seek out practitioners and like spiritual people that do not look like me, so that I am getting this education. But I feel like one of the things that people always ask me is like, what do you do with the white sage? Like,
yeah, I mean, that's a fair question. I'm not going to speak for all Native people, but I am going to speak for myself. And I don't know, my thought is if you already like have it and own it, I would say use it, and also think about the people who couldn't use it
Mm.
and use it up and appreciate it and send it on its way, and maybe give a little thanks to that culture who found the use that it's for, and don't buy anymore.
Yeah, I
I
love
love
that.
that. I love turning that into an act of appreciation.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
like the idea of if you already have it, burning it and reading about Native people, like
Yeah.
learning about the history, spending that time
Mm.
educating yourself and kind of like committing to a new way of being, I think is really beautiful.
I think that's really the best thing you could do, because I mean, no one wants to, like, you shouldn't throw it away. Like, also, like, don't waste things. I think turning it around to do that, as well as like maybe even just specifically taking time to like learn whose tribal traditional lands you are on currently, and like,
Mm-hmm.
it's not like it was like, obviously it's history, but also take time, like, look at their website and be like, oh, these are the leaders, what are they doing in community? Like, they're like, we are real, like, active people, and I feel like people just often think that we're in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, like finding, the tribes that are still around you, and the history of the land that you're on. I love that as like a practice. I feel like that's a really beautiful, like, grounding, connecting to your community, connecting to earth practice too. It's just like understanding like the history of the land, and whose land you're really on
Yeah.
is such a beautiful practice. I want to kind of switch gears a little bit here and talk more about this decolonize self-care, and just as a broad scope. Can you give some examples of like what would a decolonized self-care practice look like, one that doesn't cost money or require a whole ritual setup? Like, is there a really simple practice that you kind of give people as a starting point?
Definitely grounding, I would say, is like the easiest accessible thing that people can do. Taking your body outside and like taking your shoes off, putting your feet on the ground, and like just pausing, I think can do wonders for people. And
Mm-hmm.
I think we just don't take enough time to do things like that. It's not like in my natural behaviors to be like, oh yeah, I should go do this for 5 minutes. I have to like
Yeah.
actively, think about it. And it's like, once you're out there, it's like I feel like nature is magic, and, connecting to the earth is what our bodies need. And we don't get enough of that as a society. So if you can take yourself outside, act like you're just a little plant, get a little sunshine, and sort of like let your mind breathe, is
Mm.
such a good way to like take a moment for yourself.
Yeah, I like that. I like the idea of treating myself like a plant, because as you were saying that, I was like, I should drink more water too while I'm at it.
Yeah.
Water yourself.
Have something to eat, some fertilizer,
Get some sun. Yeah.
And
It's
so
so
I'm
true.
thinking about that kind of practice in comparison to like what we're kind of sold is a self-care practice. And I'm curious your take on like what is the difference on how that feels in your body in comparison to the spa treatment, the new little self-care gadget, whatever it is. Like what is the difference somatically for you there?
I think for me, it's always 100% effective to
Mm-hmm.
do that, to go outside and like take a moment and connect, versus the like fun new scalp massager or something that I buy, and again will use probably 5 times, and then see it in my closet lurking
Yeah.
at me, mocking
Mm-hmm.
me, and then I feel bad that I did that, or because it's just a weird feeling when you're like, I bought this to help myself, and then I'm not using it, and then I'm wasting money. And it's just like I go into this spiral of like, I don't want to waste money. So I'm trying to be smart about what I spend the money on. And then I buy stupid things that don't get used.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Relatable. Very relatable.
Yeah, I was like the
Yeah.
time that I bought a bunch of budgeting supplies, like to
Oh my
save
God.
money.
Yeah. Well, and you're
Mhm.
thinking, because I feel like we're always trying to like work out of best intention,
Yeah.
but you know, we're just silly sometimes because it's also like, I think we have to be realistic with our personalities and
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
strong suits sometimes. And I'm not always like that. So
Yeah,
yeah.
especially like the TikTok shop just gets me every time. I don't know what they have done to the algorithm, but every time I scroll on TikTok, I spend like $100 and I'm like, what am I doing?
I swear it's every other video. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
They've taken it too far.
Mm.
My mom has a joke that there's like a little man sitting in an office somewhere placing bets of like, I bet I can get her to buy this. I bet I can get her to get this to send to her house.
Oh my
Mhm.
And it's
gosh.
true. It is really like
Yeah.
they're working
hard.
against us from all
Yeah.
places.
Oh yeah.
It's hard. I'm curious because, obviously, like, as someone with a platform, I'm constantly trying to, like, do better. Like,
Yeah.
in terms of this work, in terms of decolonizing, but also, like, educating people on, like, the importance of these practices and the importance of, listening to people who don't look like me. It's like this constant juggle of like yes, I am a creator and also, a teacher and also trying to do better in this work. What would you say, like, how can people like us, who do have platforms, who are teachers in this work, engage in this, decolonizing self-care work without tokenizing or I guess like performative allyship or anything like that? Like, what is the kind of how do we support what you are doing?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I think for one, you can point people to me or creators like me when those types of like questions come up, or even just as easy as like sharing and reposting my work
Mm.
or others' work that are like coming from a cultural angle and like experience. I think I know anytime I can like amplify people who like know what they're talking about, like specifically like science communicators or like people who are way more politically like in it than I am, like if I can amplify what they're saying and know that it's correct, that's what I
Yeah,
try to do personally. So I would say kind of like the
same.
same vibe.
Mhm.
Or like even making like, I mean, if you're talking specifically like creator, like collabs or like doing a live or like this, like podcast, like I think there's ways that you can invite people into the conversation that feel like an opening rather than like a correction.
Mm.
Mhm. I love that.
Yeah, I love that distinction between like an opening versus a correction.
Mhm. I think that that is such an important part of this too, which is like so hard when somebody is, like if somebody is participating in harm, it's just, it becomes this, like, and then it becomes, okay, now we're fighting and it's about winning.
Mm.
Right. And that just drives us down the wrong path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I know you have an ebook. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit more about that as like resources or other teachers and communities that you might recommend for folks who want to keep learning about decolonization in general, self-care in general, all the things that you kind of talk about.
Yeah, I also wanted to share this. So I found it in my notes app, but I wrote like a quick, like, what is decolonized self-care? I know you asked me at the beginning, but I did not give you a quick definition. But here's a more concise one. Colonized self-care rituals, traditions, and practices are rooted in Indigenous and ancestral cultures, are stripped of their meaning, commercialized, and sold back to us as products or aesthetics, usually for profit and without honoring the people who created them. So
Mm.
the whole like thought of decolonizing it is honoring where things come from, which I think also, like, let's be honest, feels better than like trying to make something work that like is not yours to make work, or like that's where I think we get the disconnect and then stop moving forward. Like, so taking time to like look at what the things and practices you're doing, even such as yoga or, you know, like sweat logic, like all the like sort of things that have like been popularized, like they actually come from somewhere. And I think a lot of us, a lot of people don't get that the connection is necessary to like where things started and where they came from. Because a lot of this stuff is, well, I guess just whitewashed, you know, like just you guys didn't know the history of some of those things that I spoke on earlier because it's just not taught, and it's not taught by design. And so, yeah, I mean, as far as like in Reclaimed and Radical, my ebook is about learning what decolonized self-care is, putting that into practice so that you are open and available and effectively like filling your cup so that you can fill others' cup. So like it leads from self-care to community care, so that like it's really hard to show up for others when you can't like show up for yourself. And it's like you can do that for a while and then you get into like not a good space. So like what I'm hoping to like help people with is, I mean, specifically women, I'll be honest. I connect definitely more with women, and I think like a lot of us share the same like hopes and dreams and desires, and like want to like be there for our people and like care about this earth. And, you know, especially if you're like magical leaning, like you want to participate in a way that like is coming from a place of like good intention. And so like it's helping people like figure out how to do that, how to maybe connect to their like heritage in that as well. And like what's appropriate from Native Indigenous cultures that they can also do. And then be able to like do that for others, take time for others. Like maybe you're so full, you feel good, your body's taken care of. You're going to be able to like watch your best friend's kids for 2 hours so she can like take some time to do that too. Or, you know, take that time to then go volunteer at a food bank, or just like be outside of your head because you've like taken time to like reset.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that. I want to know, I'm curious, what are a couple of self-care practices that you're personally leaning into right now, especially given I feel like this time of year is, you know, end of the year, early year is a very like wellness, self-care is a capitalistic hellscape right now.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
What are things you're leaning into?
I mean, I do love to be outside. We are big walkers and hikers. So taking time to be outside, even when it is chilly, like if you can go out for a little while and, you know, enjoy that with your family, your kids, your dog, like whatever, like I think to me, I always feel best when I am outside or if I can be in water. Like water is a huge one for me. So like even swimming in a pool, like it just will literally shift my entire mood. So like I try to make that happen. We don't have a pool or an indoor pool. So we try to like do things like that occasionally, because also my daughter is so much like me, and it's like she'll just be like a whole new kid if she spent the afternoon in a pool. And I don't know, like we are connected to different elements. And like I talk about that in the guide as well, as like, you know, we're looking at like the medicine wheel and the elements and those things that again are accessible to everyone. Maybe not like a pool is accessible to everyone always, but like just a reality of like looking at like what your body most connects to and trying to like angle your life that way when you need a minute.
Yeah, I love that. I love that approach to the elements too. Is just kind of like, you know, what is your body needing right now, and how can you bring it in a way that is accessible to you? So if you don't have a pool, you know, maybe it's drinking a glass of water or taking a shower or taking a bath. Yeah.
I love that. One final question. If you could wave a wand and shift one thing about how people understand self-care, what would it be? You could just change everybody's mind right now, make everybody believe your correct opinion.
Oh my. Well, honestly, I think I would say self-care is a necessity, and you need to take time to give yourself the care that you give everyone else that you love, because effectively it then goes back to everyone else you love, because you are your best self when you're taking the time to reset and be in your body and in your mind and clear your thoughts and access yourself in a way that doesn't come naturally in our like busy life.
Yeah. The old oxygen mask on your face first.
Yeah.
I love that.
I think we would all be Jinx Yomi Soda. I think we would all be I think we would all be better off if we understood that. I think like that's a thing that I try really hard to work on, is I know that intellectually.
Right.
It's hard to show up as that person and do the thing that feels selfish when it is actually selfless. You know, like I take care of myself so that I can take care of others, so that I can show up for people at work and at home and in my relationships with friends and family and my partner, you know, and all those things. I think it can be easier said than done. And I think we would all be in a much better spot if we could like live in that principle.
Yeah, I think you're right. And it's obviously, it doesn't help that self-care has been so commercialized as well. And it puts us in this like guilt spiral too of like buying and scheduling treatments. And, you know, I think it's really moved into the like, you must spend money to give yourself self-care. And so then we ultimately like then don't even try to do it.
Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. I was going to say, like, I feel like so much of like the wellness and spirituality industries that have been really capitalized is telling you to look outside yourself for, you know, the self-care, fill yourself up with this, go get grounded by getting a grounding mat, or like that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I need something outside of myself. So then we're constantly looking outside of ourselves for the answer. Whereas like true, genuine self-care asks you to do the opposite, like look within and turn inward. And yeah, it can be like an uncomfortable shift at first, but also necessary if like we want to continue caring for, like you said, community care and caring for the people around us. And I know I'm like a better partner and friend and colleague when I, you know, have been outside for a few minutes versus, you know, locked in my little hamster wheel of an office.
Yeah. It's also like a big point of what I talk about is also just sustainability. Like that is sustainable because you can do those things anywhere, anytime, and you don't need an extra thing to like make it work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I feel like as an anecdote, I feel like I faced that this year. Is so much of my self-care revolved around like my space and my tools in my space. And then I went traveling a lot this year. And there was a time where I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to take care of myself when I'm not like in my space with my things. And I had to like literally strip down and relearn like, okay, what tools do I have on hand? I have my breath. I have, you know, my feet on the floor. I have, you know, being able to enjoy and savor a meal. And it was hard. And I didn't realize that my brain had like been so programmed to the stuff and the things in my space until I didn't have them.
Yeah. It's funny how that really sneaks up on us too, I think.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I was like, I felt like I was good. I was like, I was practiced, like use what you have, you know, you are the magic. And then I was like, fuck, I don't have my tarot cards and my crystal collection. And oh my God, what do I do? But it was nice. It was nice to like have that moment and have that reminder of like, oh yeah, everything is within me. And now I feel like so much more deeply connected to my practice again. So I feel like the pendulum can swing back and forth. And you know, if anyone's listening and feels like, oh my God, I have like a colonized self-care practice or whatever, like know that like you can, like it's a dance that we're all playing.
Totally. It's so true. And it's like nothing is ever going to be like 100% perfect. And I think that's what we all, well, I shouldn't say all, but I know that's where I get stumped and like stopped in my track is if I feel like it's not all perfect, then I don't like want to do it. But I think it's like,
Yeah.
you have to like step by step deconstruct things that we've all been taught. And, you know, it's okay if you don't get it right away. Like, that is why I did make a guide as well that's called Rooted Rituals. And that talks more like the practical things that you can do for decolonized self-care. The bigger book is more just like bringing you through like the entire thing leading to community care. And so, yeah, I mean, I just want to encourage people, even if you can't, like, if you feel like it's a lot to learn or unlearn, like, that's okay. Like, you can take your time, you can one step at a time, change one thing that you're doing for yourself. And like, that is more than okay. Because I think there are a lot of us perfectionists out there who want to like have it all understood before putting things into practice. And that's just like, our lives just like don't allow for that. Like,
yeah, totally. Okay, I know I said that was the last question, but I have one more, and it's for both you and Molly, because I had a realization while you were talking about grounding, and I'm going to sound so silly. I think I live in Florida, so it never snows. And I'm just curious, how do you guys ground in the wintertime? I just realized that I have such a supreme luxury of that I can go put my feet in the dirt whenever I want. And you guys have, like, there are weeks and weeks and weeks at a time where the ground is covered in snow and ice, unless I'm wrong.
Yeah. Well, we don't have like that much snow, but like it's definitely cold out. Sometimes I will do that though. It does feel like super refreshing, like sort of like a cold plunge scenario, which I personally like. I also like if it's like actually like snowy and nasty, honestly, just going out and taking loads of deep breath of the cold air also feels like weirdly refreshing. I wouldn't like just hang out for a long time, but but I think if you like, I don't know, there's something about like really cold, crisp air too that just kind of like resets you and gets you back in your body too.
Yeah, I was gonna say for me, it's the breath of cold air, or like sometimes airing out the house,
opening the windows, like, for sure.
Yeah, which I can only do when my husband's not here because he's like, oh my God, the heating bill. You know, he's a Virgo, so you get it. But I think like I'll walk around the house, I'll open every window, and when I get to the last one, I'll start closing them in the reverse order. And that to me is like very grounding because I feel like I'm moving, I'm getting the fresh air, I'm like clearing the energy in the space. And that's kind of my go-to, or just like lying on the floor. For me, even though it's not outside, I feel really grounded when I'm like closer to the earth. So I'll just like sit on the floor, lie on the floor.
Totally.
That kind of thing.
I do love the window opening though, because that really does clear your space. And then, I don't know, obviously there's just something about fresh air.
Yeah, it's really good for like clearing germs out of your space,
especially
too.
winter.
You know, like
yeah, that's so interesting. I just was, as you were talking, Molly, about the idea of like being without your tools, I realized I have felt that way when I've been in really cold places. Like I travel a lot, so I've gotten pretty used to kind of, you know, like having to keep the magic and learn how to do those things. I travel a lot for work, but it's only when I'm in a place where there's snow or ice on the ground, and it's like my grounding going outside, I like didn't really think about what a what a privilege that is to be able to go outside. I mean, it does get cold here in the defense of Florida. Everybody says that we're dramatic. It's cold. It's different cold. I've talked about it at great lengths on this podcast. I will spare you all, but it does get cold. But I can still take my shoes off and I won't fear losing one, you know, losing a toe. But actual final question, where can our listeners learn more about you? Where can we find your ebook? Where can we follow you in all the places?
You can find my ebook at britkoch.com, and then my IG and Threads, which I am also very yappy and chatty on
Love
Threads,
that.
So beware.
Love yappy and chatty always.
My name is Brit L. Koch on Meta, and then it's Brit.Koch on TikTok.
Amazing.
But you can find everything at britkoch.com.
And we'll link it all in the show notes too, so folks can just scroll down and grab all your links, then grab your ebook too.
Thank you so much for your time, Brit, and for talking to us and our listeners about decolonizing self-care. I'm really excited. I feel like, I don't know, this is definitely the time of year where I think that I can spend a lot of money and feel better. And so I feel inspired and like invigorated. I'm like, I'm just going to fuck a sheet mask and put my feet in the dirt. I'm going to burn something that my ancestors burned. And we're going to make it through.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's something that feels like so much more like satisfying to do those things than a sheet mask. It's like a sheet mask is like great in theory. And I mean, I enjoy one, but it does not give me the same sort of energy.
Yeah. I feel like I have the same energetic cycle of like, this will be the thing that fixes me. And then I'm using the thing and I'm not having like a spiritual out of body experience where I ascend to enlightenment. Yeah. And then I'm like, well, there's no answer, you know? And so it's like I'm like riding the roller coaster of like, well, I'll never be happy. Oh no, here's the new thing. Oh no, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's exactly how they've designed it for us to like not have like our peace and our wellness within ourselves. And, you know, if we can take that back, like how wonderful, because we're not going to be constantly relying on what someone says is the best new thing.
Yeah. Brit, I have to say before we wrap, I really appreciate how you speak about this work. You know, like I never feel shame or guilt when you teach and when I read your stuff online. Like it all feels very like compassionate and actionable. And I think, you know, as someone who's kind of tried to seek out resources like yourself, like I have never really found someone that I feel so comfortable just like asking questions to and learning from in this work. So I really appreciate just the fact that you were willing to come on this pod and the fact that you are doing this work and making it so accessible to people, I think is really incredible and really going to be a game changer for a lot of our listeners.
Oh my gosh, I'm so honored and so thankful. And I'm so glad we got connected. Yeah. Like the internet is so wonderful sometimes. And, you know, I don't know, it's just like been a really wonderful space for me to be creative and to write. And I've always loved doing that. And I was a teacher for many years. So I think it comes pretty naturally to me to like attempt to describe something or teach something in a way that's like accessible, because I taught elementary school.
Yeah.
And middle school. So a whole different accessible there. But
doing the Lord's work.
You know, like I enjoy it. I just really enjoy like putting this stuff out there because I do think it will help people. And if I can help people in any small way, you know, I would love to. And I think the education piece, I think, is very important to me because I just like honestly did not realize how many people didn't learn really much about Native people after the 1900s. And it's just like a real shame when you think about it. And I've enjoyed that too, because it's been pretty well received. Like, people being excited about learning things and digging into things. And I just think that's special because I don't know, I love to learn things about history and whatever on the internet too. So it's like, oh, people want to learn that about my culture.
Yeah.
And so it's been a great creative outlet and I enjoy it.
Amazing. Thank you so much again. We really appreciate it. Folks listening, scroll down into the description of this episode and go find Brit, follow her on all the things, grab the ebook. And yeah, I think we did it. Did we do it?
I think we did it.
Did it. High five.
High five. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Demystify Magic with Molly and Madison. All our links, from spells to ceremonies to ways to support us, are waiting in the show notes.
We'd love to hear your magic moment of the week. Share it in a review, tag us on socials, or bring it to our Patreon clubhouse at demystifymagic.com.
And remember, you are the magic.
Okay, love you.
Bye.